Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the first episode of our Health and Wellness series presented by the Health and Wellness Council of the Greater Danbury Chamber of Commerce. My name is Joanne Cueva. I'm the Director of Events and Business Development with the Chamber, and I'm pleased to be partnering today with our fellow chambers in the area, Bethel, Brookfield, and Newtown. So welcome to everyone. These are obviously challenging times, and many of us find ourselves working from home for the first time. And our panel of experts today is going to provide some valuable information and suggestions to help us be our most productive and maintain our physical well-being as we work from home. So how can we, to kick things off, assess our health, especially now when we can't visit our doctors in person? So what should we be doing every day? To answer that is Dr. Iftikhar Ali, Medical Director with AFC Urgent Care. Dr. Ali.
Thank you very much for Joanne for inviting me for this valuable conference. Sorry, my video is not working right now at this moment. As we are in the middle of COVID-19 infections, so it is extremely important to stay at home and then working from home, as most of the peoples are doing it already. First of all, a lot of people think what the COVID-19 is. The name came out from the coronavirus disease 19. It is not the number 19 of the virus. It is the first case was discovered in China in 2019, December 2019. That's where the name came out. The most important thing is that how you can assess at home while you're working is we are still learning a lot about this coronavirus right now. And the data from China and the other countries from the past couple of months, we know a lot about it. The number one symptom is a fever, which is involving 94% of the people. If you have a fever over 100.4 Fahrenheit, then you should be able to, you may have this infections. And the second most important symptom is a dry cough, which we have seen in 76% of the people. And then, of course, fatigue and myalgia. And the less common the symptoms are vomiting, diarrhea, and some throat discomfort. But the most important, if you have a fever, if you have come in contact with somebody who has a COVID infection, diagnose it, then you need to consult your primary care physician. Most of the primary care physicians are office are closed right now. And then a lot of us are on the telemedicines right now. At AFC, we do have a telemedicines. If you can go on our website, you can log in and register yourself. If you have a symptom, fever, dry cough, myalgia, definitely call your primary care or call any telemedicines and then consult with the physician. And now the testing is COVID testing is available. The we have a significant testing being done in Danbury area, particularly Danbury Hospital walkthrough testing, and that testing is done through the nasopharyngeal swab mostly. It is a significant, it is still not available for everybody. So we have to go through the CDC guideline. As the data shows that 80 to 84% of the people is going to have a mild disease. And the 16% will have moderate to severe disease. And most vulnerable people who have the disease, who can go into the moderate to severe disease and can have a respiratory, acute respiratory distress syndrome and can ultimately go on the ventilator to get better. So those are people's elderly people who has a chronic illnesses like a diabetes, hypertension, or other respiratory illnesses. So the criteria to send the patient for testing is elderly people with the chronic illnesses, or the younger people with the chronic illnesses, or immunocompromised people. They have the priority to go for the testing. And of course, if anybody has a fever 100.4 with some respiratory problem, with the oxygen level less than 95% of oxygens, there also comes in the priority to be tested. Or the peoples who are living living with the peoples who are elderly, greater than 60 years of age, or those people has the chronic illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, and then respiratory syndromes, respiratory diseases, and or living with immunocompromised, they're also able to see them. So now, other thing how you can avoid this infection is, of course, number one, everybody's talking about the social distancing. Social distancing from the other people. If you're living in the family members, you do not have to do the social distancing. And also, the other recommendation is to stay home. That doesn't mean you cannot go out for walking. You can go out, but keep a distance from the other peoples. And then if you have to go out, for instance, for essential groceries, I would recommend, and then also CDC recommendation is anybody over the age of 60 or the people who has a chronic illnesses should not go out even for the grocery. They can ask other family members or other relatives, or there is also online grocery shopping. You can do it. They can deliver those grocery to your doorstep. And now, if you have to go out for the grocery, in the beginning, CDC recommended that healthy people do not need to wear the mask. Now they are recommending it. What is the background of recommendation of wearing a mask is because this disease is spread through the droplets, or if you are touching some places where the people who are sick has touched the surfaces and your hands is contaminated. And then only way you are going to get the diseases if you if you touch your face and the nose and the eyes area. So when you put your mask on, basically we can touch our face unconsciously so many times. When you have a mask on, you are conscious, and then you are not going to touch that, and then chances of getting a disease by touching other surfaces to you will be minimum. So that's the reason that CDC right now is recommending to wear the mask of healthy people when they're going out, particularly for the grocery. And of course, grocery stores have some wipes. They can give it to you to wipe off your strollers and then grocery cart. And then the most important thing is after you're done with the grocery, you need to wash your hands with the hand sanitizer or soap and water hand sanitizer that contain more than 60% of alcohol. And that's pretty much it. So the bottom line is that how you can assess is definitely your temperature. If you have a fever greater than 100.4, or you have a cough, or have myalgia, fatigue, definitely seek somebody who has a telemedicine setup. A lot of primary care right now has it. Your own primary care, urgent care has it right now. So you can call us, and then we can assess you, and then we go from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ali. We appreciate you reviewing that important information with us. Moving on to maintaining a work-life balance while working from home can be especially challenging, especially if there are children in the mix. So
Right.
how do we separate the two? How do we stay connected with our colleagues and make the most of our day? Psychologist and therapist Dr. Roseanne Kapana Hodge has some sound advice for us. Dr. Hodge.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to show you some slides just so that you can follow along. because I'm going to try to cover a lot of information, and I want everybody to be able to absorb it. And for those of you that are just listening, you know, this will be available. So I wanted to just give you my productivity hacks from working from home and creating some life balance for yourself. And hold on, it's not going. There we go. So we're all kind of feeling like an octopus right now. And I like to say I work with a lot of people with ADHD, and so it kind of feels like you're ADD. You're supporting your loved ones, you're helping, you know, your business that you're involved with, whether you're a business owner or an employee, and we're just, you know, trying to do a lot of things. And what I want to say, and I'll say this at the end, is that we are not perfect, and nobody should expect perfection. Do your best. But there are some things that you can do to really help reduce your stress right now and create some balance. And so I'll just list them and we'll go over them really quickly. So set and follow a routine and a schedule. Sounds so simple, but it's not so easy when you're quarantined and you have to also be a teacher to your kids. Manage your stress. We're going to talk about visualization. We're going to talk about ways to ramp up your focus. It's one of the biggest complaints that I have for people right now. Really how to adapt. Is really important. So follow a routine and set a schedule. So build some type of routine. I'm hearing a lot of people who on the weekends just, you know, binge watching shows. This isn't great for your mental or physical health. Start with what's your schedule, your spouse's schedule, then your kid's schedule. Make it visual, review it with the family. You know, I'm homeschooling my kids right now, as everyone else is probably listening. And before I got on, you know, I have a routine with my kid that before I go live, I let him know, hey, I'm going to go live. When I'm in this room and the door is closed, you can't come in. You know, let people know when you're not available, because otherwise frustration builds. Really, really important for mental health is to put breaks in, exercise, and meals. Some people are talking about the Corona 15. I'm quite the opposite. I keep forgetting to eat. So, you know, make sure you're having a schedule will really help. That predictability for yourself will calm your brain down, because you're not always trying to remember what's next. But for your children, it's essential, because they're used to predictability and they're going to expect the same from you. So, you know, as being a stress expert and anxiety, you know, and this is really what I'm known for, you know, we're all stressed and it's real, and there's all kinds of stress right now, and they're all valid, and nobody should ever tell you that it's not. But what I want to tell you is that you absolutely can take control of your stress. You just need to be purposeful, really take time intentionally to calm your nervous system down. Because what happens to anybody, whether it's real or imagined stress, is that your nervous system will rev up. And we're all feeling this way. Like, we're feeling uncomfortable, we're feeling agitated. So how can you get it to tamp down? You need to do something every day. You know, this isn't, you know, once a week yoga class. So what are really, really simple things that everybody can do? You can do a 5, 7, 8 second breath, and that's 5 seconds in, hold for 7, out for 8. Do that 3 times. It's pretty magical. I hope those of you that are listening that actually do this will know this. You can meditate. You can do home-based biofeedback, heart math, $150. You can buy that. You're on Amazon or on their website. You can always seek a counselor if you feel like your stress is out of control. And certainly if you have a counselor, talk to them. But controlling your stress is manageable, and you can do it by thinking about each moment and be in that moment, and you will be able to get through it. So as many business owners are on this call, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm not just a psychologist, but I have multiple businesses, including real estate, that successful I know practice visualization. It's incredibly powerful. And if you start your day by setting an intention for your day, whatever it is in the purpose of the day or on a specific task, you really can move through things much more powerfully than you can imagine. When we set our visualizations, we want it to be authentic, right? So I always use the people of visualize yourself winning lotto. That's not super authentic. My lotto winner friends might tell me something different. I'm also a comedian in my spare time, for anybody that knows me. So, but you want to visualize your end result. So if your boss gave you a task today, or you're working on something specific to your business, see what it looks like and then work backwards. So for example, next week we're doing a big project. We're doing something called the Chill Challenge on Facebook. It's like a free Facebook group for people to learn stress strategies. And so I saw what it looked like, and then I am now working backwards with all the details and putting it in. And then actually today we're having a staff meeting where we are finalizing the details because we worked on the big picture first. It's a lot more manageable and will help you feel more in control, because what are some of the biggest feelings people have right now is the feeling of lack of control, certainly overwhelm and certainly uncertainty, and these are tools that can help. So people are feeling unfocused. There's lots of ways to improve your focus. Tamping down your stress. Most people are feeling unfocused because stress is out of control. So if you do that, that can be really, really helpful. You want to be mindful in that moment. When you feel yourself being unfocused, think, what do I need right now? Just like I said, did I forget to eat lunch yesterday? I was like, it's 4 o'clock. I never ate lunch. No wonder why I'm declining. A great technique that a lot of very, very efficient people do is batching their work. So try to structure your work. You also want to structure your day around when you're most productive. For many of us, this means tag teaming with our partner at home. Ask your spouse, what do you need to do? I need to do this. Maybe you need to get up early because you're homeschooling your kids. Maybe you need to do stay up late. I'm a huge fan of movement breaks. This is probably surprising to people, but after 20 minutes, your brain declines. So if you're sitting and you're doing work on your computer for 20 minutes, you're actually going to start declining. So even a simple get up in your chair, stretch, lift your arms up to the sky, tilt to the right, tilt to the left, then sit back down. Another great hack for focus is doing cardio. Cardio every morning really gets oxygen to the brain, can be really helpful. I'm a huge fan of B12. Simple hydration, don't eat junk food, prioritize sleep, and like I said, just don't binge watch all the time. Do other things. There's a bunch of other nutrients and vitamins that you can take for focus, but B12 is my favorite. And when you're adapting to home and work, this is all new and uncharted, and this is not forever. And you got to be as balanced and flexible in life as work as possible. And I think when you're in a home and you're part of a unit, you have to prioritize communication. Communication is the key to any relationship, whether it's a love relationship, a friendship, or a work relationship. And what's really important now is it's got to be different because we're all stuck together, and also we're not with our colleagues, or you're not with your employees. So one of the changes we did in our business is we now have a daily meeting every morning, a daily Zoom meeting. It's actually been quite fantastic. I can't believe all the things we've accomplished, but don't expect from others. So a lot of times relationships break down because one person expects one thing and another person expects another. Sounds so simple, but neither one has told each other what they need. So ask. Is this what you're thinking? Like, I need this. And also, when you're setting up communications, particularly at home with your partner or your kids, think about when the best time communication is going to occur. If you're in the middle of an irritation, or your boss is sort of barking orders and you're not sure what's going on, or you're an employer, really, really set up those communications about what is most helpful. Get clear, let people know what you need, and hopefully they'll do the same. And that's really important. And, just do your best, accept imperfection. For those of us that are type A's, imperfection may be harder for us. And this is where your stress management is going to come in and really be helpful. There's our chill challenge. But what I, just want to say to people is, this absolutely is an incredibly difficult time. Stress is normal. And it's going to be a different kind of stress. We all have emotions, and it's okay to experience them. You just need to move through them. And the key to managing stress really is to implement those type of, breathing, meditation, exercise, joyful movement, as much as you can do those kind of things. A great diet, which these guys will talk about. And I am a huge fan of supplements. They're evidence-based, and you can talk to your physician about them. And that's really it. I just want everybody, to stay healthy and reach out for help from a licensed professional if you're really struggling.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful information. And what I got out of that is save the binge watching for the weekend.
Yes.
You alluded to physical activity. That's our next topic that we're going to discuss. And maintaining a level of physical activity plays an important role in our overall health and productivity capacity. So to talk more about that is Lisa O'Connor, Wellness Director and Diabetes Prevention Coordinator at the Regional YMCA of Western Connecticut. Lisa.
Good morning. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this event. As Joanne said, my name is Lisa O'Connor, and I'm the Wellness Director at the Regional Y. And today I'm here to discuss the importance of physical activity as part of our lifestyles, and especially during these uncertain times. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the basic guidelines for adults of 150 minutes of physical activity per week. We know the benefits of physical activity include chronic disease prevention, improving sleep, relieving tension and stress, and weight management. And many of you may have had a pretty consistent routine before we were asked to stay home and self-quarantine. Perhaps you went to the gym before or after work. Maybe you walked during lunch with a coworker, or you read a book while walking on your home treadmill. But now, with routines out the window, we're working from home. Many of us are overseeing online learning for young children. Those routines that we once had may be harder to maintain. But we need to remember it's still important to maintain our physical activity. We created routines before, we can do it again. And just remember, new routines take time to develop, and we have to give ourselves time to create our new normal. On the Regional Y's website, which is www.regionalymca.org, you can find many resources for all members of your family. For example, YMCA 360 is an on-demand healthy living network with classes for the whole family, and that's updated and added to on a weekly basis. There's also the Stay Healthy 600 free challenge. It's a free fitness challenge. We also have links to online silver sneakers classes for our active older adults. We have a link to Les Mills and their library of strength training classes, as well as ideas on how to keep your kids healthy. So there's no lack of resources available online. The hardest part may be finding that motivation to get started. So here are some ideas to help you get motivated. First is start small. I'm all about taking small steps toward behavior change and lifestyle change. If you haven't worked out in a few weeks, don't set out to run that half marathon tomorrow, but maybe you can get up for 30 minutes today and just go for a walk and then build up from there. Also, you could get a buddy. Schedule a phone call with that friend you used to walk with at work and catch up as you walk and talk. Making that date or appointment with someone else holds you more accountable, and who knows, there might be someone out there who's looking to get started as well and who needs you to hold them accountable. Do some research. Look for the resources that best fit your needs and your skill level, and then make a plan. And find your motivation. Do you have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that counts your steps? Can you try to beat your previous day's steps? You could find an online challenge. What about trying to fit into a specific piece of clothing? I know today's the first day I put jeans on in a couple of weeks. Find something out there that's going to motivate you. So these are just a few things to think about to get you started. The other important point I want to make today, though, is with regard to overall movement or lifestyle movement. So think about how different your day is now if you're working from home compared to how it was when you were working out of the home. So take my day as an example. When I was headed to work at the Y, I'd head down the stairs out to the garage to the car. I'd drive to work, park in the back lot at the Y, walk all the way into the building, walk to the front desk, check in, walk back to my office, put things down, walk out to the wellness center, check in with members, I made numerous trips to the copier throughout the day, which is not in my office, numerous trips back and forth to the wellness center, the bathroom, the kitchen. You kind of get the picture of how much I was moving throughout the day. But today, working from home, I'm not moving nearly as much as I did at work. My overall movement has decreased, and I take way fewer steps throughout the day. I still get my structured physical activity in, but I'm just overall moving less. And I bet a lot of you guys are too. So we have to look for ways to incorporate overall movement into our days in addition to our regular physical activity. So look for ways to take a break from sitting and just get up and get moving. And those little steps throughout the day really do add up. Many of you have kids at home now as well, and it's important to make sure that they're also being active. There are health benefits to being active at any age, and children are no exception to that. Kids who are active are more likely to maintain a healthy weight, have stronger and healthier bones and muscles, have a lower long-term risk of cardiovascular diseases and diabetes, etc. And now that their routines have also been disrupted, how do we keep them active? I have 2 college-age kids who've been doing a good job of maintaining their level of physical activity. My daughter's a swimmer in college, so she's been relying on our home equipment as well as some online yoga and strength classes. My son runs outside, does weights in his apartment, but I know that keeping younger children active during this time is way more challenging. So I reached out to my sisters-in-law, who between them have 5 kids under the age of 8. They're both working from home, trying to navigate online learning as well. So I asked them for their suggestions. So they both told me that they create time in their schedules for outdoor gym time. And that's when the kids will go outside, they'll play soccer, they'll ride their bikes, their scooters. They both felt it was important to give them that break from the schoolwork. Much like we need to get up from our computer, the kids do too. So it's good for them to get a break from their computer and also helps them burn off all that extra energy. Think about their school days. They would walk from class to class, down the hallways, one special to another. They had outdoor recess. Much like us, their overall activity has decreased as well. So we need to look for ways to help them not be as sedentary. Additionally, my sisters-in-law use resources in their community or online to create fun activities such as neighborhood scavenger hunts, and they utilize websites that offer free yoga or dance classes. Locally, our regional YMCA website has resources online for kids, and the American Heart Association is another great website for resources and activities. Kids are naturally active, and it's important to help them maintain their activity as they grow by helping them create habits when they're young. According to the CDC, children ages 3 to 5 should be physically active throughout the day, and adult caregivers for that age group should look for ways to incorporate and engage active play throughout the day. Children between the ages of 6 and 17 should do 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous physical activity a day. And we can help them by being role models. If they see us taking walks or trying online classes, then we're modeling the proper behavior for them. We need to support them. If they want to go outside, we need to make ourselves available to them when we can, or set them up for success with giving them some suggestions, some structure, and some resources so that those older kids can go out and do these activities on their own. For those children who may be inactive now, we need to help them start by starting small. Set smaller, achievable ways to celebrate even the smallest successes. It's uncertain how long these circumstances we're facing right now will last, and this really is a stressful and uncertain time for everyone. But we can't put our healthy habits on hold, and now more than ever, we need to maintain our health. So hopefully you found these suggestions helpful, and I wish you and your families continued health.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And you know, the fact that it's a beautiful day out today, spring is upon us, definitely helps make a point of getting out there and enjoying some of this warm weather, take a break. And I think that's a really critical step to take. So thank you. Hand in hand with physical regimen is our nutritional intake, which is equally important and has a direct correlation in terms of building our immunities. So, you know, the old cliche that we are what we eat really is true. And the WISE Director of Community Wellness, Maureen Farrell, is going to share some healthy dieting tips and suggestions for us, especially when the refrigerator is in such close proximity now that we're working from home.
Well, thank you, Joanne and the Danbury Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to be part of this event. Today, I'm going to discuss the importance of a healthy diet and how to make those wise food choices during our time at home. I also like to look for silver linings and just to stay on the positive side. And our time at home means that we can now focus on family dinners and the bonds that form with our children over mealtime. We're temporarily removed from all the distractions and after-school activities that may have kept us from sharing this important time with our children. I've noticed on my daily walks that children are outside playing in their own backyard, going for walks or bike rides, or even planting gardens with their parents. So I like to think of that as maybe the silver lining, is that people are finding time to focus on family. One of the initiatives that the Coalition for Healthy Kids, along with the Regional YMY of Western Connecticut, has been to promote a wellness message in our community. We've been doing this for many years. This initiative is called Go 5 2 1 0 or 0. I have found this wellness message fits so many situations, no matter who the audience is. Even today, this message is timely. So here is the Go 5 2 1 0 message during this pandemic. The first is eat 5, that's the 5. Eat 5 fruits and vegetables daily. This doesn't change just because we're in a pandemic, but maybe how we shop for our foods might be a little different. So you want to make sure you're shopping with a list. They're recommending that we cover our mouth and nose with either a mask or some type of garment. Wear gloves if you have them, but if you don't, consider the fact that all the grocery stores have those plastic bags that you put your produce in. So that when you're selecting your produce, you can either use your gloves or the plastic bags, but make sure that you select and keep what you choose. Any items you touch, you choose. That's it. You don't go around touching all different types of fruits and vegetables. You select the one that you first touch. And then when you're done shopping, you dispose of those gloves in a garbage receptacle, and then wash your hands with soap and water, and use the hand sanitizer as directed by the doctors here on the program. Okay, so when you're shopping, remember root vegetables have the longest shelf life. So potatoes, onions, carrots, turnips, those items are going to last longer so that you don't have to shop for them as frequently. When you run out of fresh produce though, frozen and canned vegetables can be just as healthy. So add them to your sauces and stews or your favorite recipes. And if you want to prolong the shelf life of your leafy greens, you know, if we buy the boxed, the containers of leafy greens or the bagged leafy greens, if you use a small piece of paper towel, and I know that's in shortage, but a small piece of paper towel will help absorb that extra moisture in those leafy greens so that they'll last a little longer. When you get home, wash your produce with cool water and a brush. I looked this up in both the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is my professional organization. I looked it up on the Yukon Extension Program as well as the Department of Agriculture. And they're saying that just washing with cool water and a brush is what would be expected. That if you use bleach, diluted bleach or soaps, the porous surfaces of those fruits and vegetables will absorb those cleaning agents. So it's not really recommended that you use a lot of heavy disinfectant or anything on your produce. Just wash it under cool water and use a brush if you need to. There are 4 key food safety strategies, and that is to clean, separate, cook, and chill. If you are someone who is concerned, maybe you're on immunosuppressive agents or you have an elderly parent at home, just know that if you cook the food, that will definitely kill the virus. So you could always eat cooked foods. As far as passing by the refrigerator day in and day out, have fruits and vegetables visible and cut up and ready to eat for snacks. And if your home and work schedule is still hectic, Dust off your crock pot and make meals ahead. You could always have cook ahead meals that you could put out on the table to maintain that family, that important time, that family time at mealtime. Now I want to talk about the 2. Remember, go 5, 2, 1, 0. The 2 is 2 hours or less of screen time. Choose just one time during the day to be updated about the news of COVID-19 virus and the response our community is having. Watching and listening to news programs all day long can be overwhelming and scary for both children and adults. So find those programs that you find that give you the most information that you want to learn about, and then stick to that time schedule. Don't have information going on all day. Now, the 1 in Go 5, 2, and 0, the 1 means 1 hour of play or physical activity daily. Lisa O'Connor said it all. I don't need to say much more. She gave some great tips on exercising at home and some websites that you can use with your children and your husband or wife. It's vitally important, though, to maintain physical activity so that you keep up your strength, your immune response, and mental health during times of stress for both children and families. So thank you, Lisa, for all your great information. Now, the 0 in Go 5, 2, and 0 means 0 intake of sugar-sweetened beverages. The more sugar you consume, the stronger your cravings are going to be for more sweets throughout the day. If you limit your intake of sugars that come from refined and processed sources, you'll feel much better and you'll have a lot more energy. To keep snacking to a minimum, set a rule that permits you to have meals and snacks, but maybe perhaps choose one location in your house where you're going to eat those meals and snacks. And that way you're not eating and associating that with other activities like working from home or watching the news or in the middle of doing housework. If you set yourself a time and location for meals and snacks, you'll feel better and eliminate the grazing that could happen when you're near your kitchen and pantry and refrigerator all day long. Now, I'd like to just leave with one important message, and that is to support the Danbury Food Collaborative and for their resources. I'd like you all to consider donating financially to the Danbury Food Collaborative so that operators of our local food pantries in Greater Danbury can continue to purchase and distribute food to local residents who are struggling right now to put food on their family table. Information about how to donate to the Danbury Food Collaborative and food security resources can be found on the United Way of Western Connecticut website. I thank you for your time today and happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Maureen. We appreciate all of that information. I'm hearing in there also step away from the potato chips.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Don't buy them.
There you go. Our final presenter today is Dr. J.D. Sedana, CEO of Docs Medical Group. And Dr. Sedana, you know, we're hearing so much information on a regular basis, obviously, about COVID-19. So I want to step outside of that for a minute and look to you, if you will, as sort of, you know, give us the inside skinny as a doctor. What are the things that you do on a regular basis to maintain your health? And if you could give us just a few tips of if you're gonna do anything, these are the things that we should be doing to maintain our health moving forward today and for tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Joanne. This has been awesome to just hear all of you, very, very knowledgeable speakers, and just sharing a wealth of information. You know, a very simple answer to what you're asking, Joanne, is number one, we have to identify that physical health and mental health are both equally important. You know, to me, that's the very first thing, because a lot of times when people are homebound, like we all are right now, we're struggling not just with our physical health, but we're also struggling with our mental health as well. So, you know, with regards to the physical health piece of it, you know, there are various strategies that different people have discussed. And, you know, to me, it's a very, very simple way that I like to use as an analogy, and I tell this to everybody, is every single day exercise to the point that you break a sweat. For somebody, it might be 2 minutes. For another person, it might be 5 minutes. For somebody else, it might be 30 minutes. But you get yourself to the point where you break a sweat, because essentially what you're doing is you're increasing your heart rate, you're increasing your capacity of your lungs to breathe, and you're just increasing blood flow through your various body organs and body system, which is essential at all times, not just during this particular point in time. The other thing with regards to mental health is essentially, to have a range of emotions. It's fine to accept your emotions. It's fine to be sad. It's fine to be unhappy. But at the same time, embrace the happiness, embrace the positivity around us, embrace the silver lining that even a crisis like this is bringing. I look around us and I look at how we are all rallying as individuals. I think we're all going to come out a lot stronger after this. Uh, Individuals are going to come out stronger. Families are going to have better bonds. And, when you go through adversity, you have to come out stronger. And in terms of a business, various businesses, including mine at Docs Medical, we've actually gone through a transformational change. Things that we have been doing to keep, all of us have been doing to keep our businesses operational. We would have made changes such as what we've made in the last 4 weeks, probably over a period of 2 to 4 years. Having done that so rapidly, just all of us being together here on a Zoom conference call with an audience, and these are just things that I hope that we just don't do it for a short period of time and then we just completely forget about it. I think these are lessons that we have to take going forward and moving forward. I wanted to give everybody a little bit of background about myself, so you have an understanding of where the next pieces of what I'm going to say are. So by training, I'm actually a pulmonary and critical care physician, and I'm involved with care of people in the ICU setting and have been involved with care of people who are on a ventilator for many, many years. With regards to COVID-19 itself, I have actually been, for lack of a better word, on ground zero with COVID-19. As a lot of you know, that one of the first cases in Connecticut was reported in Westport, Connecticut. That's where I live. The people who were at that infamous party were people who were actually on my street. These are all friends of mine. These are people that we have tested at Docs. I'm also very closely tied in with the Department of Health officials, so we know exactly what our strategy is and where our state is and what we are really doing. The things which are critical in terms of all of us to understand is that, we all discussed in terms of the virus and the fact that, I like to use the term physical distancing, not social distancing, because it's impossible to be socially distancing in today's day and age. But, we've all spoken about physical distancing. We've all spoken about avoidance from the virus, etc. But it's also important to understand that our treatment options for something like this are extremely limited. We do not have a vaccine. We do not have any real way to treat this infection once we have it. Yes, there are investigational drugs which are being used, but we have very limited data on that. But what do we know? What we know is that it negatively impacts certain people more than others. But in general, it's impacting the elderly more, but it's also impacting people with underlying diabetes more. It's impacting people with obesity more. So it just tells us that, even if we have, there are certain things you can't do anything about. Listen, if I'm 85 years old today, I cannot roll back the clock and say, hey, by the way, I'm 55. I wish we wish that every single day. But at the same time, if there is other underlying comorbid conditions, this is the time to actually take better care of that. So if you're diabetic, this is the time to be more aggressive about your diabetes care. If you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, this is the time to be more aggressive about that. Just healthier habits, exercising, eating healthy, like we just heard, maintaining a structure, maintaining a lifestyle which incorporates all of that. The other thing that's important is, at some point in time, we all, what we have done over the course of past 4 weeks is we're all practicing avoidance. We're all trying to avoid having COVID. We do, however, know that there's approximately 40% of people who will have COVID who will be asymptomatic. These are people who are asymptomatic and they're carriers, and that's the reason for physical distancing, purely because if we only distance from the people who were symptomatic, the asymptomatic carriers would be out and about spreading that disease. But I think the key really is we should now start looking and planning for the next stage. And the next stage of this is, well, how do we get back to daily life? How do we get back to, operating businesses? How do stores reopen? How do banks, how do we get back to doing all of that? I think there's two keys for that. The first key for that is to identify who has COVID, to be able to have testing much more widely available and much more commonly available. And that's happening. Over the course of the last week to 2 weeks, there's been significant changes coming about in terms of testing. Unfortunately, some of these tests are still taking 3 to 5 days before we get their results, but at least we have better access to results in most parts. There are still cities in Connecticut where testing availability is extremely limited. The other thing which became a rhetoric over the course of the past few weeks was, don't get tested because we do not have enough test kits and we need to save them for the first responders. Now, that's okay to a certain degree, but now that we have better access to test kits, people should be getting tested more. And when I was alluding to the fact that we need to get back to working and get back to the normalcies of life, one key feature is for any of us to be able to know, hey, did I have COVID? And was I asymptomatic during that period of time? Because that is a very real possibility. So one of the tests that we have now tests not only for an active infection, but also tests people for having had COVID over the course of the last 6 to 8 weeks. And what that is, it's a game changer in my opinion, because what that allows us to do is that allows us to test for people who've had COVID, asymptomatic or symptomatic, or they might have ignored it, or they might have not gotten tested because they're, test kits are in shortage. Now these people who've had COVID can actually get back to being, I would not say out and about and living life completely normal now, because we, and scientists have looked at this, and we do not have clear information that this will not mutate into a different strain, like what we see with the flu every year. It's a different strain of flu. Could this be coming about in the fall as a different strain, or next year as a different strain? Sure. But just like the flu, if you typically have it once in a year, you're less likely to have it a second time that's the same year because you have a particular strain. The same applies to COVID. So if you've had it and you test for that and it shows that you've recently had it, that's the kind of person who, and those are the groups of people, because believe me, it's not individual, it's a lot of people. Those are the people who should be able to go out and about and start churning this economy back again, start getting back to jobs. And that, I think that's where we need to be focused on as the next step, because we've all become experts and pros over the course of the past 2 to 4 weeks at physical distancing, and how are we bringing groceries back into the store? And we've all watched videos of people with glitter on their hands, how to hand wash appropriately for 30 seconds, and how to use hand sanitizer front and back for 30 seconds. And that's great, because all of those things are not things that we should forget, because even if we practice the same things every day throughout the course of the year, you know what? We will reduce the incidence of flu-related deaths every year by probably half just by practicing these things. But with regards to COVID, I think we need to start turning things around a little bit here, getting a little bit more aggressive with testing, but also testing for prior infections, doing any and all of that. Realizing also that our treatment options here are very limited. Our treatment options literally are letting the fever run its course and monitoring the disease. And one other key feature with regards to the disease, for those who have it or those whose loved ones have had it, one of the features that will happen is that for the first 5 to 7 to 8 days of the disease, we see symptoms of fever, and some cough. And one of the other classic symptoms that's coming out right now is the inability to taste or smell. That actually even precedes fever. However, when things take a turn for the worse, the reason why things are taking a turn for the worse, and that's typically around day 9, 10, and 11, is because of a phenomena called a cytokine storm. And what that is, for lack of a better word, is put yourself on a treadmill and start running and have no ability to stop. Because that's how our body is responding to this virus, where the body is pushing back and fighting against the virus, but it has no ability to stop till it actually hits a wall. And that hitting a wall is literally what's happening in a cytokine storm. And people go from having fevers and some degree of cough to being deathly ill and actually dying in a matter of hours, if not 24 to 36 hours. So for those who have it, and for those whose loved ones have it, if you're on day 5, 6, 7, 8 of the regular flu, you think like, hey, the worst of this is over. I think I'm getting better. But be very mindful and be very careful with COVID, because between days 9 to 11, you could actually get worse and get worse really fast. And if you see any symptoms of that, please go to the emergency room immediately. With regards to what we are doing at Docs Medical, as you all probably know, Docs Medical offers urgent care and primary care services. We have telemedicine services in all our locations. All of our locations are still open. If people choose to go in there, all locations are open. One of the things that we've done, and we've been pioneers at this across the country, is we have locked all our doors and all our waiting room chairs are turned upside down. People actually call a number, which is our number for the front desk, to be allowed into any of our facilities. And this is being done to limit exposure for our staff, because we want to make sure that it's a safe environment for them to work in. And it's also a safe environment for our patients who come in with non-COVID related illnesses, because guess what? They just did not disappear from the face of the earth. Those things still exist. We want to create a safe environment for them so that people actually go straight into an exam room and go straight out of an exam room, and there is no chance of them actually acquiring COVID while they're visiting any of our providers at our facilities. So, like everyone else, I think it's a struggle for us. It's been a struggle for every business, but it's been a struggle for every individual. It's been a struggle for every mom who's now homeschooling their kids, and God bless all of them. I think they should all get a certificate at the end of this in another 2 to 3 months. But I think we'll all come out of this a lot stronger. And I think we have to start looking at the next phase of this as to how do we come out of this and how do we get better. So with that, I'll conclude, and any questions that anyone else has, I'm more than happy to take those.
I thank you so much, Dr. Sidana, for all of that information. What you said is, really makes us think about, should all of us at some point perhaps be tested for this when all this is said and done, and because of all of the asymptomatic indications that you talked about. And it's also, after some of the words you said, time to practice those stress reduction tips that Dr. Hodge talked to us about. So the great news is that you all did such a wonderful job in your presentations. You actually answered all of the questions that I had received in advance. So I do thank you for sharing such a wealth of information. I'm sure all of your websites have more information available for anyone on the call who would like to get more information. All of that information is available on our website as well. So I would like to thank you all again. I'd like to mention also that this Thursday, the Chamber will host another business update call with area leaders to discuss, what's going on with the latest developments that will affect you and your businesses. So that's coming up this Thursday at 1 o'clock. Please feel free to call us anytime. Let us know how we can help you in your business. We are all in this together. And I thank you again for all your time. Now, everybody, go and be productive and stay well. Thank you.